I never thought the worst betrayal of my life would happen in the hallway of my own home. I was carrying a basket of folded laundry up the stairs when I heard Vanessa's voice, coming from the master bedroom, my son's bedroom, the room that used to be mine and my husband's for 40 years. Her tone was sharp, irritated. "Marcus, we need to talk about your mother." I froze. My hands gripped the wicker basket tighter. "She can't keep living here. This is our house now. Your father is gone. She needs to understand that." My heart dropped into my stomach. I pressed my back against the hallway wall, barely breathing. Marcus's voice came next, quieter, hesitant. "I know, but she just lost Dad 6 months ago. Maybe we should what?" Vanessa interrupted. "Let her take up space forever? Marcus, your mother belongs in a nursing home. She's in the way. We can't start our real life with her hovering around every corner." Silence. A terrible, suffocating silence. I waited for my son to defend me, to say I was his mother, to remind his wife that this was my house, not theirs. But Marcus said nothing, and somehow, that silence hurt more than Vanessa's words ever could. My legs felt weak. The laundry basket slipped from my hands and hit the floor with a soft thud. I didn't even bend down to pick it up. I turned and walked back down the stairs, each step heavier than the last. That's when I realized something that would change everything. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted to erase me. From my own home, from my own life. But what they didn't know was that this house, the one they were so eager to claim, wasn't theirs at all. It was mine, and I wasn't going anywhere. I walked out to the small guest cottage behind the main house. It was a place we'd built years ago for visiting family, for summer guests, for moments of peace. Now it was my hiding place, my exile. I sat on the edge of the narrow bed and stared at my hands. These hands had worked for decades. These hands had built everything Marcus now lived in. The Victorian house wasn't just a house. It was a dream my husband Robert and I had chased together 42 years ago. I was 20 years old when we married, and Robert was 23. We had nothing but love and determination. I remember the day we first saw that house. It was 1983. The paint was peeling, the porch was rotting, and half the windows were cracked. But Robert squeezed my hand and said, "We can make this beautiful. We can make this ours." And we did. Robert worked construction during the day, and I took double shifts at the county hospital as a nurse. We saved every penny. We ate simple meals. We wore old clothes. We didn't take vacations. Every dollar went into that house, into our future, into the life we were building. I scraped wallpaper until my fingers bled. Robert replaced the floors board by board. We planted the rose garden together one spring morning, our hands deep in the soil, laughing about the life we'd have there someday. "This is where we'll grow old," Robert had said, kissing my forehead. "This is where our family will gather. This is home." And it was. When Marcus was born 3 years later, that house became the center of everything. I rocked him to sleep in the nursery we'd painted soft blue. I cooked his meals in the kitchen we'd renovated ourselves. I watched him take his first steps across those hardwood floors. Robert and I worked so hard to give Marcus everything we never had. Private school, music lessons, summer camps, college tuition fully paid. I picked up extra shifts at the hospital, working nights and weekends. I was exhausted, always exhausted, but I told myself it was worth it. My son would have opportunities. My son would have a better life. Robert did the same. He started his own contracting business, working 70-hour weeks. Together, we built more than just that house. We built a real estate portfolio, 3 rental properties, a small commercial building downtown. Financial security, we sacrificed our time, our energy, our youth. But we did it together, and we did it with purpose. Then Robert got sick. It started with a cough he couldn't shake, then the weight loss, then the diagnosis that shattered our world. Stage 4 lung cancer. He fought for 14 months. I took family leave from the hospital to care for him. I held his hand through every treatment, every terrible night, every moment of pain. Marcus barely visited. He was busy with work, he said. Vanessa didn't like hospitals, he explained. They'd come by when they could, but they rarely did. Robert noticed. In his final weeks, lying in our bedroom with the afternoon light streaming through the windows, he turned to me with tears in his eyes. "I'm worried about you," he whispered. "After I'm gone, Marcus has changed. That woman has changed him." I tried to reassure him, but Robert shook his head. "Promise me you'll protect yourself. Promise me you won't let anyone take what we built. This is your home, not his, not hers, yours." I promised. 2 weeks later, Robert was gone. The funeral was small. Marcus stood beside Vanessa, who checked her phone 3 times during the service. I stood alone, drowning in grief, feeling my husband's absence like a physical wound. After the funeral, Marcus suggested I move in with them. "The house is too big for you now, Mom," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "You shouldn't be alone. Come stay with us, just for a while." I was so broken, so lost in my grief, that I agreed. I packed a small bag and moved into the guest room of my own house. Marcus and Vanessa took the master bedroom without hesitation. They rearranged the furniture. They replaced Robert's things with their own. They painted over the soft green walls we'd chosen together and made everything modern, cold, impersonal. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself Marcus was just trying to help. But Vanessa's attitude shifted almost immediately. She stopped including me in conversations. She rolled her eyes when I offered to cook dinner. She rearranged the kitchen, moving all my utensils and dishes to the highest shelves where I couldn't reach them. "We're updating things," she said with a tight smile, "making it more functional." Marcus said nothing. Before I heard this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to ring the notification bell, because every day I'm bringing you stories of women who turn their deepest pain into a new good way of living their lives. Small comments became constant criticisms. I was using too much hot water. I was in the way in the kitchen. I made too much noise in the morning. I watched television too loudly. I started spending more and more time in the guest cottage, trying to stay out of their way, trying not to be a burden. I barely recognized my son anymore. The boy who used to hug me tight and tell me I was the best mom in the world had become a stranger, cold, distant, always siding with Vanessa at family dinners. Vanessa would make cutting remarks. "Must be nice to retire early and just relax while other people work." I had worked for 40 years. I had earned my rest. Some people just don't understand modern life. I had built the life they were living, but I stayed quiet. I swallowed my hurt. I told myself it would get better. Then came the day I overheard that conversation. "Your mother belongs in a nursing home." And Marcus's silence. Sitting in the cottage now, I realized the truth I'd been avoiding for months. My son wasn't the person I thought he was. Vanessa hadn't changed him. She'd revealed who he truly was. Someone willing to discard his own mother for comfort and convenience. Someone who'd forgotten every sacrifice, Every late night, every dollar spent on his future. Someone who saw me as an obstacle instead of the woman who gave him everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca, my neighbor. Haven't seen you in a few days. Everything okay? I stared at the message, my vision blurring with tears. No. I wanted to write. Nothing is okay. My son wants to throw me away. My daughter-in-law hates me. I'm invisible in my own home. But instead, I wrote, I'm fine, just tired. I set the phone down and looked around the small cottage. This wasn't supposed to be my life. I wasn't supposed to be hiding in the shadows of the property I'd built with my own hands. Robert's voice echoed in my memory. Promise me you'll protect yourself. I'd made a promise to my dying husband, and it was time I kept it. 3 days after overhearing the conversation, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the cottage bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of my own heartbeat, feeling rage and grief twist together in my chest. At 2 a.m, I made a decision. I needed to know the truth. The full truth. Marcus and Vanessa had driven to the city that afternoon for some gallery opening Vanessa had been talking about for weeks. They wouldn't be back until late the next day. The house was empty. I walked across the dark lawn, my slippers wet with dew, and let myself in through the back door. My hands were shaking as I turned the key. This was my house, but I felt like an intruder. Everything was dark and quiet. Too quiet. I walked through the kitchen, running my fingers along the countertops I'd chosen, past the table where Marcus had done his homework as a child, through the living room where Robert and I had spent thousands of evenings together. It all looked different now, colder. Vanessa had redecorated with sharp modern furniture and abstract art I didn't understand. The family photos were gone, replaced by expensive-looking prints. I climbed the stairs slowly, pausing at the landing where I'd heard Vanessa's cruel words. The memory made my stomach turn. The master bedroom door was open. I stood in the doorway, looking at the bed where Robert had died, now covered with Vanessa's designer pillows and silk sheets. Then I turned toward Marcus's study. He'd converted Robert's old workshop into an office. I'd only been inside once, and Marcus had seemed nervous, rushing me out quickly. At the time, I thought he was just protective of his workspace. Now I wondered what he was hiding. I opened the door and turned on the desk lamp. The room was meticulously organized. Marcus had always been neat, even as a child. Files were arranged in labeled folders. His laptop sat closed on the desk. I didn't know what I was looking for. I just knew I needed to look. I started with the filing cabinet. Tax returns, business documents, insurance policies. Nothing unusual. Then I opened the bottom drawer. Inside was a thick folder labeled estate planning. My heart started pounding. I pulled it out and sat down in Marcus's leather chair. My fingers trembled as I opened the folder. The first document was a printout from a website. Top-rated nursing homes in Connecticut. 5 facilities were circled in red pen. I recognized 2 of them. They were the cheapest options in the county. The ones with 1-star reviews and reports of neglect. Beneath that was a handwritten list in Vanessa's sharp, slanted writing. Steps to consider. 1. Medical evaluation. Find doctor willing to assess cognitive decline. 2. Power of attorney transfer. 3. Asset consolidation. 4. Placement timeline. Before holidays I felt sick. They weren't just talking about sending me away. They were planning it. Step by step. I kept reading. There were printed emails between Marcus and Vanessa. I shouldn't have read them. Part of me wanted to stop, but I couldn't. The first email was from Vanessa, sent 3 weeks after Robert's funeral. Marcus, We need to discuss your mother's situation. She can't live with us permanently. The house is too valuable to have her taking up space. We should explore our options while she's still grieving and vulnerable. She'll be easier to convince now. Marcus's response made my hands shake. I know you're right. I just feel guilty. She's my mom. But you're also right that this house should be ours. My parents would have wanted me to have it. Let me think about the best approach. Vanessa's next email was colder. There's nothing to feel guilty about. She's old. She had her life. Now it's our turn. Your father left everything to her, which was a mistake. We need to correct that mistake before she does something stupid like giving it all away or remarrying. The longer we wait, the more risk we take. I had to set the papers down. My vision was blurring. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to breathe, trying to process what I was reading. They saw me as an obstacle, as dead weight, as something to be managed and removed. I picked up the next document. It was a consultation form from a law firm I didn't recognize. The attorney's notes were in the margin. Client inquiring about options for elderly parent. Discussed conservatorship proceedings. Advised that medical documentation of incompetence would be required. Client seemed eager to pursue. Follow-up scheduled. The date was 2 weeks ago. They were trying to have me declared incompetent. They wanted to take control of everything Robert and I had built, everything we'd worked for, everything that was supposed to keep me safe. My breath came in short gasps. I felt dizzy, betrayed, completely devastated. Before we continue, make sure to like this video and subscribe. With your support, we can keep bringing more stories from powerful women that touch the heart of all of us. I forced myself to keep looking. I needed to see everything. Beneath the legal consultation was a financial document. Bank statements. Marcus had added himself to my checking account months ago, claiming it was just in case of emergency. The statements showed multiple transfers. Small amounts at first. $200 here, $500 there, then larger sums, $2,000, $5,000, over 6 months. Marcus had transferred nearly $40,000 from my account to his own. He was stealing from me. Slowly, systematically, I sat back in the chair, feeling like the room was spinning. My phone buzzed in my pocket, making me jump. It was a text from Rebecca. Are you sure you're okay? I saw lights in the main house. I thought Marcus and Vanessa were out of town. I typed back quickly. It's just me. Getting some things. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. I took photos of everything with my phone. Every document. Every email. Every bank statement. My hands were shaking so badly that some of the photos came out blurry. But I kept going. Then I saw one more folder at the back of the drawer. This one was labeled simply, Dad's will. I pulled it out, confused. Robert's will had been read at the lawyer's office. Everything had been left to me. It was straightforward, simple. But this was a copy of a different document, an amendment to the will, dated 6 months before Robert's death. I read it carefully, my heart pounding. It was a protective clause Robert had added without telling me. It stated that if I were to be placed in a care facility against my will, or if there were any legal proceedings initiated to declare me incompetent, a secondary trustee would be activated to protect the estate. The secondary trustee was Harold Patterson, Robert's oldest friend and our family lawyer for 30 years. Robert had known. Somehow, even then, he'd known I might need protection. The amendment included a paragraph that made my breath catch. I have observed changes in my son's behavior that concern me deeply. While I hope these concerns are unfounded, I cannot leave my wife vulnerable. should any party attempt to exploit her grief or manipulate her legal standing. This clause will ensure her protection and autonomy. Robert had seen what I'd been too heartbroken to notice. He'd seen Marcus pulling away. He'd seen Vanessa's influence. He'd tried to protect me even after death. Tears streamed down my face. I pressed the document against my chest, feeling Robert's love reach across the divide between life and death. I wasn't alone. I'd never been alone. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it, making sure nothing looked disturbed. Marcus couldn't know I'd been here. Not yet. I walked back to the cottage as dawn was breaking, the sky turning soft pink and gold. I sat on the small porch and pulled out my phone. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I needed, Harold Patterson. It was 6 in the morning, but I didn't care. I pressed call. He answered on the third ring, his voice thick with sleep. Hello. Harold, it's me. I need your help. I need to know about the amendment Robert added to his will, and I need to know what my options are. There was a pause. Then Harold's voice became sharp and alert. Where are you right now? Are you safe? I'm safe. I'm at the cottage behind the house. Stay there. I'm coming over. Don't talk to Marcus or Vanessa. Don't tell them anything. Do you understand? I understand. Good. I'll be there in an hour. And I'm bringing the full estate documents. It's time you knew everything. I hung up and sat very still, watching the sun rise over the rose garden Robert and I had planted together so many years ago. Everything was about to change. And this time, I would be the one in control. Harold arrived exactly 1 hour later, carrying a leather briefcase and wearing the same concerned expression he'd had at Robert's funeral. He looked older than I remembered, his white beard neatly trimmed, his 3-piece suit perfectly pressed even at 7 in the morning. He sat across from me at the small cottage table and opened his briefcase without saying a word. He pulled out a thick folder and set it between us. Before we begin, I need you to know something, Harold said, his voice gentle but firm. Robert came to see me 8 months before he died. He was worried, very worried. I wrapped my hands around my coffee cup, needing something to hold onto. He told me he'd noticed changes in Marcus. The way he talked about money. The way Vanessa had started making comments about the house, about the properties, about what would happen after. Robert was sick, but his mind was sharp. He knew. Why didn't anyone tell me? My voice cracked. Robert made me promise not to. He didn't want to burden you while you were caring for him. He thought he had more time. He thought he could talk to Marcus himself, fix things. But the cancer moved faster than anyone expected. Harold opened the folder and spread documents across the table. This is the original will. Everything was left to you, as you know. The house, the rental properties, the commercial building, all bank accounts and investments. Everything. I nodded. I'd seen this before. But this, Harold pulled out another document, is the amendment Robert added. The protective clause. He set up a legal tripwire, essentially. If anyone tried to manipulate you, coerce you, or have you declared incompetent, I would be automatically activated as co-trustee of the estate. They couldn't touch anything without my approval. My hands started shaking. They're planning exactly that. I found documents, emails. They've already consulted a lawyer about having me declared incompetent. They're stealing money from my account. They want to put me in a nursing home. Harold's jaw tightened. I need to see everything you found. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos. He studied each one carefully, his expression growing darker with every swipe. This is elder abuse, he said finally. Financial exploitation and attempted fraud. This is criminal. What can I do? Harold looked at me with steady, serious eyes. You can fight back. You have every legal right. But it won't be easy. Marcus is your son. This will destroy whatever relationship is left. There's no relationship left, I said quietly. He chose this. He chose her. He chose greed over his own mother. Then we need to act quickly. I want to call a meeting. You, Marcus, Vanessa, and me. At my office. We'll present the evidence and give you the opportunity to make changes to your estate. Legal changes they can't fight. My heart was pounding. When today, this afternoon, before they have time to make their next move. I thought about Marcus as a little boy, running into my arms after school. I thought about all the birthdays, all the sacrifices, all the love I'd poured into raising him. Then I thought about Vanessa's voice. Your mother belongs in a nursing home. And Marcus's terrible silence. Make the call. I said. Harold called Marcus from my phone. I listened as he used a calm, professional voice. Marcus, this is Harold Patterson. I need to see you and Vanessa at my office this afternoon at 2 o'clock. It's regarding your mother's estate. There are some documents that need to be reviewed and signed. It's important that you both attend. Marcus must have asked questions, because Harold continued smoothly. It's standard procedure. Estate maintenance. Nothing to worry about. Just bring yourselves. We'll have everything ready. He hung up and looked at me. They'll come. They think they're getting closer to what they want. Greed makes people predictable. At 1:30, Harold drove me to his office downtown. The building was old brick with tall windows, the kind of place that felt solid and permanent. His office was on the 3rd floor, filled with law books, and the smell of leather and old paper. We sat in silence, waiting at exactly 2 o'clock. The receptionist knocked on the door. Mr. Patterson, your 2 o'clock appointment is here. Send them in, Harold said. The door opened. And Marcus walked in first, wearing an expensive suit I'd never seen before. Vanessa followed, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood floor. She carried a handbag that probably cost more than I spent on groceries in 3 months. They both stopped when they saw me sitting beside Harold's desk. Mom? Marcus looked confused. What are you doing here? Sit down, Harold said, gesturing to the 2 chairs across from his desk. Both of you. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. What's going on? Sit down, Harold repeated, his voice harder now. They sat. Vanessa crossed her arms. Marcus looked between me and Harold, nervous energy radiating from him. Harold folded his hands on his desk. We're here to discuss some concerning discoveries regarding your treatment of your mother and your intentions toward her estate. I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus said quickly. Too quickly, Harold opened a folder and pulled out the printed copies I'd made of the photos. He laid them on the desk one by one, like a dealer laying out cards. The nursing home research, Vanessa's handwritten plan, the emails, the legal consultation notes, the bank statements showing the transfers. With each document, Marcus's face grew paler. Vanessa's expression went from confused to defensive to hostile. Where did you get those? Vanessa demanded. That's private property. That's illegal. Actually, Harold said calmly, searching one's own home is not illegal. Your mother had every right to access these documents. What is illegal is financial exploitation of an elderly person, which is exactly what these bank statements show. 23 unauthorized transfers totaling $39,800. I'm on that account, Marcus stammered. She gave me access. For emergencies. Was it an emergency when you transferred $5,000 to book a vacation to Cancun? Harold slid another document across the desk. We have the receipt. The dates match perfectly. Marcus opened his mouth and closed it again. No words coming out. Vanessa leaned forward, her voice sharp as glass. This is ridiculous. Marcus is her son. He has every right to help manage her finances. She's getting older. She's forgetful. She needs supervision. I'm sitting right here, I said quietly. And there's nothing wrong with my memory. Vanessa turned to me, her mask of politeness completely gone. You're living in the past. You can't accept that Robert is dead and that house belongs to Marcus now. You're pathetic, clinging to a life that's over. That house, I said, my voice steady despite the pain in my chest, was purchased by Robert and me in 1983. My name is on the deed. My name has always been on the deed. You have no claim to it whatsoever. Marcus is your son. You owe him. I owe him. The words came out louder than I intended. I gave him everything, every opportunity, every advantage. I worked myself to exhaustion so he could have a good life. And this is how he repays me? By stealing from me? By planning to lock me away in some facility so you can take everything? Mom, please, Marcus started, but I cut him off. You stood there and said nothing when she said I belonged in a nursing home. You said nothing, Marcus. You let her talk about me like I was garbage, like I was an inconvenience, like I was nothing. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I didn't care. I am your mother. I gave birth to you. I raised you. I loved you with everything I had. And you were going to throw me away for a house and some money. Marcus's face crumpled. I didn't mean. I never wanted. What did you want, Marcus? I demanded. Tell me. What exactly did you want? He couldn't answer. He just sat there, tears running down his face, looking like the child he used to be. But I felt nothing. No sympathy. No softness. That part of me was gone. Harold's voice cut through the tension. There's one more thing you need to know. Robert anticipated this situation. He added an amendment to his will that protects your mother from exactly what you've been planning. He pulled out the protective clause and read it aloud, every word landing like a hammer blow. Marcus's face went white. Dad knew. Your father was a wise man. He loved you. But he wasn't blind, and he made sure his wife would be protected. Vanessa stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is insane. We're not staying here to be accused of whatever this is. Come on, Marcus. We're leaving. But Marcus didn't move. He stared at the documents on the desk, at the evidence of his betrayal, at the mother he'd abandoned. I've prepared new estate documents, Harold continued, ignoring Vanessa. Your mother is removing you as beneficiary, Marcus. The house, the properties, all assets will be placed in a trust. Upon her death, everything will go to charity organizations and designated individuals who have shown actual care and loyalty. You can't do this, Vanessa shrieked. That's his inheritance. That's his. It's not his, I said, standing up to face them both. It never was. Robert and I built that life together. It's mine to do with as I choose, and I choose to give it to people who won't see me as a burden to be disposed of. Marcus finally looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something break behind his eyes. Mom, please. I'm sorry. I never should have. Vanessa, I was wrong. Please don't do this. You made your choice, I said. Now I'm making mine. Harold placed the new will in front of me. I picked up his pen, and without hesitation, I signed my name. Marcus let out a sound like a wounded animal. Vanessa grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Fine. Enjoy your empty house and your miserable life. You deserve to be alone. I'd rather be alone, I said, than surrounded by people who only see me as something to use. She slammed the door behind her. Marcus sat frozen in his chair, staring at nothing. What have I done? He whispered. You chose comfort over character, Harold said quietly, and now you'll live with that choice. Marcus stood slowly, like an old man, and walked to the door. He paused and turned back to look at me one last time. I love you, Mom. No, I said. You loved what I could give you. That's not the same thing. He left without another word. I stood in Harold's office, breathing hard, feeling like I'd just survived something terrible and necessary. Are you all right? Harold asked. I thought about the question. Was I all right? My son had betrayed me. My family was broken. My heart was shattered. But I was still standing. I was still here. I still had my dignity. I will be, I said. Eventually, I will be. The legal notice arrived at Marcus and Vanessa's door exactly 1 week later. They had 30 days to vacate the Victorian house. The property they'd called ours was being reclaimed by its rightful owner. Me, Harold handled everything with quiet efficiency. The unauthorized transfers from my bank account were documented and reported. Marcus was required to return every stolen dollar, plus penalties. The consulting lawyer who'd advised them about conservatorship proceedings received a formal complaint about ethical violations. Vanessa's social media presence, where she'd posted countless photos of her beautiful home, went dark overnight. I heard through Rebecca that she'd been bragging to friends about inheriting a fortune. Now those same friends were whispering about fraud and elder abuse. The humiliation was public, complete, and entirely of their own making. Marcus sent letters, long, desperate letters full of apologies and explanations. He blamed Vanessa. He blamed stress. He blamed everything except himself. I didn't read past the first few lines of any of them. Some betrayals can't be apologized away with words. On the day they moved out, I stayed at Rebecca's house. I couldn't watch. I didn't want to see Marcus carrying boxes out of the home where I'd raised him, where his father had died, where 40 years of memories lived in every corner. Rebecca made tea and sat with me in her kitchen, not saying much, just being present. She'd become more than a neighbor. She'd become the family I'd lost. You did the right thing, she said quietly. Then why does it hurt so much? Because you're a mother, and mothers love even when it destroys them. When I finally returned to the Victorian house 3 days later, it felt different, empty, but also somehow lighter. The air seemed clearer. They'd taken the modern furniture, the expensive art, all the things Vanessa had filled the space with. What remained were the bones of the house itself, the original hardwood floors, the crown molding Robert and I had restored, the window seat where I used to read to Marcus when he was small. I walked through each room slowly, reclaiming it, remembering it. In the master bedroom, I opened the windows and let fresh air pour in. I stripped the bed of Vanessa's silk sheets and remade it with the soft cotton ones I'd always preferred. I brought back the photos of Robert, of our wedding, of the life we'd built together. This was my home again. I spent the next month painting walls, rearranging furniture, bringing back all the things Marcus and Vanessa had hidden away. Rebecca helped, along with 2 other women from the neighborhood who'd heard my story and wanted to help. You're not the first woman this has happened to, one of them told me. Her name was Patricia, and she was 72. My own daughter tried something similar 5 years ago. These young people, they think we're just obstacles between them and their inheritance. They forget we're still here, still alive, still human. Those conversations planted something in my mind, an idea that grew stronger each day. If this had happened to me, and to Patricia, and to who knows how many other women, maybe I could do something about it. I contacted Harold and told him I wanted to establish a foundation, something small but meaningful, a legal aid fund for elderly people facing family exploitation, free consultations, resources, protection. Robert would have loved this, Harold said, his eyes misty. He'd be so proud of you. I used money from the rental properties to set it up. The Patterson Roberts Elder Protection Fund, named after my husband and our family lawyer. It wasn't much, but it was something, a way to turn my pain into purpose. Marcus tried to visit once, 3 months after everything happened. He stood on the porch, looking diminished somehow, smaller than I remembered. Vanessa wasn't with him. We separated, he said through the screen door I didn't open. After everything fell apart, she left. She said I was weak, said I'd thrown away our future. I said nothing. You were right about her, about everything. I was so stupid, Mom. So incredibly stupid. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, truly sorry. I looked at my son, at the man who'd valued money over love, and I felt something unexpected. Not forgiveness, but a kind of sad acceptance. I believe you're sorry, I said quietly, but sorry doesn't erase what you did. Sorry doesn't give me back the feeling of safety I used to have. You broke something that can't be fixed. I know. His voice cracked. I know I did. I hope you learn from this, Marcus. I hope you become a better person. But I can't be part of that journey. I can't keep breaking my heart trying to save you from yourself. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Marcus. I watched him walk away. Down the porch steps Robert had rebuilt, across the lawn we'd planted, away from the life we'd given him, and then I closed the door. That evening, I sat in the rose garden with a cup of tea, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of amber and gold. The roses Robert and I had planted were blooming, filling the air with their sweet perfume. I thought about everything I'd lost. My husband, my son, the family I'd imagined we'd always be. But I'd also gained something. Myself, my dignity, my strength, the knowledge that I could survive even the worst betrayal and come out standing. I wasn't the same woman who'd frozen in that hallway months ago, crushed by her son's silence. I was someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who refused to disappear. The house was quiet around me, but it wasn't a lonely quiet anymore. It was peaceful. Mine. I belonged here. I always had. And no one could take that away from me ever again. If this story moved you, click on the next video that's appearing on the screen now. I'm sure you'll be surprised by this new emotional and heartbreaking story I have right here to tell you.